faithfully delivering value and exploring great books worldwide. Hello, this is Sally with Book Insights. Today, I'm going to interpret the book, The 7 Emotions We're Born With. It'll teach you how to examine your feelings and manage them better, like heart blooming with joy, heart burning with anxiety, or heart trembling with fear. There are countless ways to describe emotions. We chase happiness and look forward to getting lost in joy and ecstasy. But we also fear being controlled by feelings and messing up big time on impulse. So, are emotions better when they're intense or when they're calm? Imagine a little pill, pop it, and you become calm as still water. No more fear of public speaking, no more fights with family over small stuff. Would you want to take that pill? The case of brain injury gives us the answer. This patient had minor damage to his prefrontal cortex, causing him to lose the ability to feel emotions. When things happened to him, he felt nothing. So he couldn't figure out what he wanted because no feelings changed, and he lost all passion for doing stuff. He couldn't pick up on others' feelings either, so in social situations, he had no clue how to act. Basically, losing his emotions meant he lost all sense of control and good judgment in life. So even though emotions can mess things up, they're super important. Emotions are key stress responses. They trigger body changes in a flash. They affect our minds, making us think differently and drive our actions. Like with a partner, feelings push us to move in fast and show love. So, how many emotions are there? Darwin claimed 6, but modern psychologist Ekman says 16. In this book, French psychiatrist François Lelord and Christophe André looked at different emotion theories and boiled it down to 7 key feelings: anger, fear, sadness, joy, intense envy, and shame. The book covers why these feelings pop up and how they show, looks at how they affect us, and gives tips to handle them. Next up, we'll break them into 4 groups based on how they're linked. First group, strong negative ones, anger and fear. First off, anger. It's universal. Any culture, modern or tribal, folks can spot it in each other's faces. Besides facial expressions, when we get angry, our bodies also show obvious reactions. First, anger increases muscle tension, especially in the arms, making us clench our fists. At the same time, blood vessels expand all over, making us feel hotter, and our faces turn red. And as breathing speeds up, heart rate and blood pressure both rise. Cognitive psychology believes that anger is the result of an instant mental assessment. If something is assessed and meets the following 4 points, anger gets ignited. The first point is that something we don't want to see happens, like being late or disrespected. These frustrating and disappointing things breed anger. The second point is that we think it was done on purpose. A colleague talks nonstop at the annual meeting, taking up your speaking time. In this situation, some folks might shrug it off, but others think the colleague is targeting them, aiming to dominate them at work. The third point is that the anger triggering thing goes against our values. What's abnormal? What's excessive? Everyone's standards differ. For instance, employees think they've got the right to strike. Leaders, though, think employees are already treated well. Yet they strike, which is shameless behavior. The fourth point is that by showing anger, the thing can be controlled or avoided. For something that makes us mad, the brain quickly assesses whether to show submission or intimidation. It's easier to get angry at folks below us or weaker. Towards stronger parties, we don't get angry easily. Anger has both upsides and downsides. The positive side is that when angry, heart rate speeds up and blood pressure rises, which actually preps the body to react fast to threats. Plus, people can resolve conflicts by showing intimidation. Imagine if all conflicts, big or small, ended in life or death fights. Then the survival of the species would be way harder. Exactly, because most disputes end with one side giving in and the other intimidating. The cost of conflict drops a lot, better securing group interests. However, anger can also harm health. As the saying goes, anger harms the liver, sorrow harms the lungs, Fear harms the kidneys. Negative emotions indeed harm health. But remember, emotions aren't the cause of diseases. They're factors that affect how illnesses start and develop. For example, sadness and anxiety might long-term mess with how the immune system works. Many diseases like shingles and rheumatoid arthritis are affected by high stress events. And when people are under heavy mental stress, even the ability to heal wounds and form scars weakens significantly. People who get angry easily have a higher chance of getting cardiovascular diseases than others. But this also needs to be looked at comprehensively with other factors like, whether there's high blood pressure or family history of cardiovascular issues. Also, folks who often explode in rage are indeed more prone to heart attacks. But long-term suppressing anger and turning it into hidden hostility is just as bad for the coronary arteries. So what's important isn't about not getting angry, but about getting angry less. So anger hurts both feelings and health. How do we manage it? Actually, whether it's anger or other emotions, the first thing is to realize that blindly venting emotions is wrong. This is universal for all emotion management. Those venting methods like punching sandbags, yelling, or having a good cry, the reason why they help vent emotions mainly comes from other factors, not the venting itself. Like having an understanding friend who speaks up for you when you're crying. In this process, what really works isn't the crying itself, but the friend expressing understanding and support for your situation. Or in this process, you figure out the problem and give yourself psychological counseling. In short, without other positive factors, just venting emotions only intensifies them. For instance, when angry, mindlessly smashing things only makes blood pressure spike, worsens anger, and you might even form a bad habit of breaking stuff every time you get mad. Next, when managing anger, there are 3 key points. Mastering these is also universal for other negative emotions like sadness, fear, envy, etc. The first point is to acknowledge the emotion exists. Even for anger, which is hard to hide, this isn't easy. For example, men are less willing than women to admit emotions exist. So, when a man gets angry, he likely considers the context and tells himself, it's nothing to get mad about, don't stoop to that guy's level, and so on. But in reality, his hands behind his back are already clenched into fists. The second point is to remember that expressing emotions aims for communication, not destroying conversation. For example, expressing anger to tell others you're really upset, dissatisfied, and want them to change. After expressing anger, know when to stop, because your goal isn't venting, but solving the problem. Third point, recognize others' emotions and respond appropriately. For example, during a meeting, the boss gets angry because your team's report quality is poor. If you, as a team member, act all passive like, well, I didn't write it, not my problem, that'll just make the boss madder. But if someone objectively points out the report's flaws and offers fixes, the boss will feel the team understood their concerns. That's real communication working. Facing someone's anger, don't fire back emotionally. Instead, figure out why they're mad, what went wrong, and if it can be fixed. This walk in their shoes, understanding, that's what empathy is. Besides these universal methods, remember 3 extra tips when you're angry. First, reduce anger triggers. Think before you act. Like Mary, she forgot her phone in the morning, wasted 30 minutes going back, got late to work, lost her bonus. Then at the morning meeting, her computer crashed, messing up her presentation.
Then a chatty coworker cut her off mid-speech, so she snapped, slammed the door, and stormed out.
This shows Mary's rage built up from multiple frustrations. Anger accumulates step by step, like many emotions.
If Mary checked her stuff before leaving and maintained her computer regularly, she'd have fewer triggers. Then unavoidable annoyances wouldn't easily set her off. Also, thinking before acting cuts anger. Say you clash with your spouse. Cool down first. Ask, are they deliberately provoking you? Could there be other reasons? Slowing down decisions helps you see the full picture, drastically lowers anger, and preps you for real talk. Second, let others fully speak their mind, no personal attacks. This shows respect and helps you avoid being trapped in your own perspective. Listen to others' viewpoints. You might realize you got angry because you misunderstood their meaning. Also, never make personal attacks when furious. You can say, "What you did made me really angry," but you can't say, "You're an idiot who can't do anything right." Because insulting someone's character does irreversible damage to relationships. Third, learn to let go. If someone keeps pissing you off and you've tried everything to avoid it, then consider ending the relationship. After all, you can only control yourself, not others' actions. Anger management is two-way. Not just controlling anger, but also learning to express it appropriately.
There's a term called anger deficiency.
It means when faced with something infuriating, you don't get angry on the spot. This makes others think they can treat you anyhow, because you won't blow up. Meanwhile, you replay it over and over, filling your heart with resentment. So don't be too afraid to show anger. It won't necessarily harm your image or relationships. Remember, you can't please everyone, and there's no need to endlessly tolerate stuff. Now that we've covered anger, let's talk about fear. Like anger, fear also triggers intense physical reactions. For instance, if a vicious dog charges at you, your heart races, muscles tense, prepping you to fight or flee. Fear can be unconscious. Like, after almost having a car crash, we suddenly notice our hearts pounding. Fear comes from both innate and learned influences. Whether animals or humans, some fears are etched into our genes through evolution. For example, humans easily fear the dark. That's because big predators hunted at night. Many fears also come from afterbirth. Say someone's been in several car accidents, they'll likely develop a fear of driving or riding in cars.
Or if a mom trembles at the sight of dogs, her child will likely fear dogs too, because the mom's fear passes on, leading to phobias, mental disorders marked by sudden intense fear and a strong urge to escape.
Stats show about 12% of people have phobias. Common types are specific phobias, like fear of spiders, social phobia, and agoraphobia. People with agoraphobia suddenly feel intense, uncontrollable fear in public places, along with physical discomfort and even a sense of impending death. Those with social phobia are terrified of doing things others might find ridiculous or inappropriate, avoiding contact because they fear judgment or ridicule. But fear has positive sides too. First, it boosts survival chances. A primitive person afraid of darkness, heights, and beasts might seem timid, but they dodge risks early, surviving better than fearless folks. Second, moderate fear educates and protects. Like parents scaring kids with ghost stories to make them sleep early. That gets obedience. And fearing scary viruses makes people better protect their and their family's health. So how do we manage fear? Beyond universal rules we mentioned, like acknowledging emotions, aiming for communication through expression, and empathizing with others, 2 more points help conquer fear. First, control fear by learning more. Planes are safest transport, yet way more people fear flying than driving. Why? Because we feel more in control of speed and driving in cars.
So if you fear flying, learn how planes work and flight controls operate. More info means less fear.
Second, gradually face fear until free. Say you fear pigeons' pointy beaks and feathers. Start with photos, then videos, then watch them from afar in a square. Then stroll near pigeons on grass, finally try feeding or touching them. Through this gradual, steady approach, your pigeon fear will fade till gone. To lock in results, regularly visit squares to see pigeons. That's all? We've covered the first group, anger and fear, both negative, needing careful management. Next up, the second group, a pair of opposite emotions, sadness and joy. First, sadness. Career setbacks, heartbreak, losing loved ones, these plunge us into sorrow. Although the events that spark sadness differ, they all share the same cause: loss. The intensity of sadness, how long it lasts, relates to how much value the lost thing holds in your heart. For instance, saying goodbye to a friend, the grief triggered by a 20-year pal versus a colleague you've known just 6 months but click with is totally different. Life's full of setbacks, so sadness is hard to avoid. Ooh. However, lingering sadness and morph into emotions like depression, anger, and disgust. Say someone loses their spouse, they feel deep sorrow. This sadness can fuel anger towards themselves because they think their spouse's death caused their pain. And since that anger has no outlet, they just blame themselves. If the pain sticks around, it leads to depression, turning their outlook on themselves, the future, and the world negative. Years of depression can become major depressive disorder, and in bad cases, it might lead to suicide. And to manage sadness, you got to do two things. First, sadness needs to be expressed carefully. Sadness draws care from loved ones, helping emotional healing and showing you kindness all around. But overexpressing sadness can drain others' goodwill, making you seem too fragile. Second, do stuff you enjoy. When sad, folks might get withdrawn, avoid people, and dwell on self-reflection. But staying in that state long-term doesn't fix anything.
So use action to break the cycle.
Unless it's severe depression, regular sadness can be eased with positive steps, like joining a fun party or hanging out with friends to unwind. Now that we've covered sadness, next up is its opposite emotion, joy. Joy is a core emotion, happiness, gladness, delight, all tied to joy, just varying in strength and how they show. In this book, the author zooms in on a special state of joy. Happiness is sustained joy. It goes beyond emotions and is a state everyone chases. The author outlines 4 types of happiness. The first type is made of joy fragments, basically a sum of non-stop pleasures. For example, for Bill, a small get-to-together, bumping into an old friend, or sharing afternoon tea with a partner. All together, this makes him feel life's super happy. The second type of happiness is long-term. For Mary, it's about her kids growing healthy and her husband's career going smoothly. Doesn't need grand achievements. As long as everything's peaceful and smooth, that's happiness. The third type is devoting yourself to a cause you value. For Anna, happiness is when she feels full of drive. When she handles documents and solves work problems one by one, she feels accomplished. This third happiness mirrors Aristotle's view, achieving joy through self-chosen work that benefits society. The fourth type is peace of mind. For David, if someone stays mentally calm in any situation, they're happy. David's grandpa died in a concentration camp, but those who knew him said his composure in hardship greatly encouraged others. This fourth happiness aligns with Stoicism. They believe we can't control life, only our attitude toward it. So which happiness is yours? It depends on your circumstances and personality. The author believes age and money aren't key to happiness. Health and personality matter most. Also, marriage status, career, and relationships impact happiness. And, to achieve it, ask yourself these questions to see how close you are to happiness. Like, what right now would make you happier? A promotion? Marriage? And is this happiness-boosting thing achievable? Also ask, what does your ideal happiest moment look like? A joyful family life? Or a spotlight moment on stage receiving an award? And have you ever missed such happy times? These answers help clarify what truly unlocks happiness for you. These are what you should pursue. All right, we've covered the second group, sadness and joy. Now for the third, jealousy and envy. They're similar but distinct. Envy targets others' happiness or possessions. Jealousy guards what you already have and want to keep. For example, you notice your neighbor's wife is stunningly beautiful. You might feel envy, thinking how lucky he is. But if you see old Wang next door talking too close to your wife, that's when jealousy kicks in. Because you're scared of losing your wife, though. Sometimes the two feelings mix. Like a girl who's both envious her parents bought her little brother a new toy and jealous he's sharing their love. Studies show nearly 60% of jealousy involves envy, while only 11% of envy includes jealousy. Envy and jealousy, both emotions are annoying and make you feel lousy. When jealous,
you feel this emotion flash through you instantly, bringing anger, unease, or sadness.
Sometimes jealousy becomes a psychological issue that's unbearable for others. Take Claudina. Her husband's wildly jealous, hating her seeing friends, especially men. He won't even let her drive, claiming since he's jobless anyway, it's all about controlling her freedom. If Claudina dresses slightly sexy, he gives her dirty looks or even calls her a flirt. Here, Claudina's husband isn't just angry, he's verbally attacking and socially controlling his wife. This caused Claudina unbearable mental stress until she finally left him. Jealousy's negative. It harms relationships, but has upsides, especially romantically. It grabs attention and makes partners invest more. In primitive times, resources were scarce. Women needed steady resources to raise kids. That required keeping a spouse's attention long term. For men, ensuring a spouse's loyalty guaranteed the kids they worked hard raising were their own. So jealous types better showed their partners they cared deeply. This gave them better odds of having more offspring.
This genetic edge is jealousy's upside, and why it's a core human emotion.
So how do we modern folks manage jealousy? There are 2 points to note. First, examine your jealousy. When your jealousy isn't about a specific person anymore, but becomes part of your character, it's time to seriously reflect. For example, do you feel jealous because you think you lack attractiveness and worry your partner might fall for someone else? Uh, if so, then your jealousy might be related to self-esteem. This makes you avoid being with people who are too outstanding because a superior partner would make you feel inadequate. Second, give the other person some space. People who are good at jealousy will try to control risks that are almost uncontrollable and actually have low probability. And it's like not going to tropical countries because you're afraid of catching a virus.
When you have to go, you wear full protective gear. It's that exaggerated.
In the earlier example, Claudina's husband, out of jealousy, controlled every aspect of her life, making her live in endless suspicion, surveillance, and restrictions, ultimately forcing Claudina to divorce him. Compared to jealousy, envy targets what others have. In terms of outcome, it's not as severe as jealousy, but it often makes you unhappy. When feeling envious, we can express it positively or downplay others' advantages. For example, if a friend's big house is beautiful, instead of secretly envying it, you could say, "Your new house is amazing. Lots of people must envy it."
Like this, it's humorous. It relieves your own envy and also praises your friend.
Alternatively, we can think from a different perspective. For instance, having a yacht is great, but maintaining it, installing equipment, and being unable to sail in bad weather are all troublesome.
Thinking this way, the envy from someone else's new yacht gets weakened.
In addition, we should also examine our own sense of superiority.
Sometimes we envy others' achievements or happiness because we think, I'm clearly better than you, so only I deserve these achievements, not you.
For example, a classmate gets recommended to a prestigious university, but your grades have always been better. In what I saw, so you feel that this recommendation spot should have been yours. At this point, you need to self-reflect. If others are better than you, they probably have genuine strengths that you might lack. The above covers the third group of emotions, jealousy and envy. Next, in the fourth part, we'll talk about shame. Shame is a strong yet hidden emotion because showing shame only makes you feel more embarrassed. Shame can stem from guilt. For example, Mark's father was 50 when he was born. When Mark was in elementary school, his dad would pick him up at the school gate. Seeing his father much older than other parents made him feel awkward. His dad noticed his expression and tactfully waited farther away from the gate. This later made Mark feel ashamed because he knew his vanity had hurt his dad's feelings. Shame can also come from insecurity, fearing you're inferior or being looked down on. Like a young man from a small town working in the city who noticed his colleagues dressed stylishly while he wore shabby clothes when going to work. The way other colleagues looked at him seemed different too, making him feel inadequate and ashamed. Besides guilt and insecurity, having your misbehavior discovered can also cause shame. For instance, Mary used to share food from home with her dormmates every week. Once her mom made macarons. Mary loved them so much she hid them, but got caught by her roommate. Discovering her refusal to share made her deeply ashamed. Shame makes us blush with embarrassment, but it can also make others more forgiving toward us. Like if you knock over a fruit crate in a supermarket, showing shame and apology makes staff more forgiving and helpful. Plus, shame motivates us to behave better. When we act improperly or outrageously, shame reminds us to tone it down and socialize appropriately.
However, excessive shame has downsides.
Studies show frequent shame displays make people seem boring, unappealing, even untrustworthy. After all, if even they think poorly of themselves, who'd give positive feedback? Notably, shame from physical disabilities or illnesses easily causes psychological issues like depression or low self-esteem.
Severe cases need professional psychological help.
Managing shame is like managing other emotions. Besides acknowledging and examining it objectively, do two more things. First, turn shame into embarrassment to avoid unnecessary humiliation. For example, during a business meeting, you knock over a coffee cup, spilling it on a client's clothes. This is a little embarrassing accident. You can totally say, "Sorry, I'm so clumsy." Help clean the coffee stain without feeling humiliated. Mentally preparing for awkwardness and apologies often prevents unnecessary shame.
Second, reduce contact with habitual insulters. Some people deliberately provoke shame to control others. Like those who say, "You're worthless."
An industry idiot no team would ever want.
To such people, directly state you reject their behavior, or just avoid them.
All right, we've now covered everything. The 7 emotions: anger, fear, sadness, joy, envy, jealousy, and shame. Actually, the book also explores a vital theme: love. Is love itself an emotion? Some even call it the strongest emotion, but psychologists note no specific facial expression belongs uniquely to love. So love isn't an emotion. Love is complex, woven into jealousy and sadness, yet traceable in anger or joy. And emotions like joy, envy, and sadness, we encounter them all in love, learning their essence through it. Acknowledging and examining our feelings helps manage them, making you a better self and a more loving person. That concludes our interpretation of the 7 emotions we're born with. Reading notes are below the audio. See you next time.